It is 6:06 on December 11th, and I call our third meeting of the Community Enrichment Advisory Committee of North Kansas City to order. All right, let's go for attendance. Marcia.
Present.
Kristen.
Present.
Kathy.
Present.
Bess. Present. Moving to approval of minutes from November 11th, 2025.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Comments from the public? Any emails or calls? Going once? Twice? All right. Moving into presentation by A Turning Point. Welcome.
Do I have to thank you for having us. Do I need to hold this down? Oh, okay. That's fancy.
Just press it, and if it's red, you're good to go.
It's red. Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. Okay. Well, first and foremost, thank you for having us. One of our favorite things to do is to teach people of all the things that are happening on our campus because we've learned that not a lot of folks know of our resources. So I'm going to give you guys the zoomed out picture in as much time as quickly as I can, and then leave some time for questions. There is a pop-up session happening on our campus, so when this is done, I'm going to bail, but feel free to ask as many questions as you need, because our services can be confusing. So we are a Turning Point. We are located on Englewood Road between Antioch and North Oak. We are an independent 501c3, not affiliated with any other organizations similarly named locally or nationally. We are slated to serve about 64,000 people from our campus this year. We have a staff with newly 4 full-time and 5 part-time employees. So we are busy people doing the most good that we can with the resources that we have. We have 5.5 programs. That includes a food pantry, a wardrobe, a high school diploma program, a meal every Sunday at a local church that's zero barrier other than getting to the picnic, and we have an outreach program. The half program is cold weather shelter that we run from December 1st till April 1st at a 10-degree threshold at one of 2 places. Our primary place is Gashland United Methodist Church, and our secondary location, because they have some conflicts with their schedule, is Good Shepherd United Methodist Church, all the way up on North Oak. All of our programs are very prioritize dignity. We want it to be an experience where the gap between need help and want help is very small. And we work really hard to provide a client experience that is very similar to what I would have if I go to a store or to buy clothes or whatever that looks like. Asking for help is hard, and we don't want to make that harder. The high school diploma program is not a GED program. Everything on our campus is 100% free. I forget to say that. I assume people know that. There's no money that's transactioned on our campus at all. We serve 300 families weekly in our food pantry. And then we also are currently have our annual Christmas store, which is also serving about 300, and it's going to probably end up being 50 families once I'm done saying yes to people. We also do a backpack drive. So I think that's everything that we do. I'm going to talk a little bit about outreach because that was born out of a day shelter closing in April. We had a choice to make whether or not we just crumbled that program or we pivoted to what we know is a huge need in the Northland. Our day shelter was open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from 10 till 2 and had increased to serving about 80 to 100 people a day. We provided showers, laundry, food pantry, 2 hot meals, and a very robust case management program. This is our lead case manager here, Jen Riley. That program, instead of crumbling, decided to pivot to an outreach program, and it has become really a really important program, especially in the Northland. But we know our folks just dabble between North and South. And so typically if there's an unhoused person, especially one that hangs out in the Northland, our team of 4 case managers know them. The cool thing about our outreach program is it is like level 10 boots on the ground. And because we are privately funded, we aren't held to any requirements for programming. So we're able to provide consistent case management, which also just builds rapport and trust so that when somebody's ready, we dive right in. We have a theory that we won't work harder than you, but we are ready with you to be beside you as long as you're ready to go. So what that looks like is folks who have been wronged by many systems. They may take a little bit longer to trust us, but we're there that whole time. We don't say it's about what we give people, it's about how we give people things that helps us plant seeds of self-worth that were maybe never planted in our clients. And then we get to reimagine their potential once they have a different self-worth defined. And so we get to take, as the clients get to have autonomy on how long that needs to take in order for them to take the next steps to sustainability. And sometimes we have to define what that means for them. What I think is successful and what they think is successful can be 2 very, very different things. And so we have to figure out what messaging they've been told their whole life so we can figure out why they're not reaching any goals that I think they need and then help them define goals that maybe they never knew existed. So outreach is very unique. There's been times where some other outreach workers will go into the woods and find a client, and that client will say, you can't be here unless Jen says you can be here. So the outreach worker will have to call Jen and say, can I go in this camp? And she's kind of, the team has a really great rapport with our clients. And we value that, and we will always hold their dignity and their decision-making priority for who we take into the camps or what help we are able to hand off for them. They've built a giant net of resources, and it's just been a really cool program to watch unfold. From that is cold weather shelter. So our cold weather shelter works in conjunction with Kansas City Mo. We are only activated at 10 degrees or below because our team works a lot. And so this is not the only thing they're doing, it's an addition thing that they're doing. And so all 4 case managers, most of the time, all 4 case managers are present at our cold weather shelter because it is where some serious relationship building happens. When somebody feels safe and secure at night, we're able to say, what's next? How do you feel now that you're rested? We take a stance of we trust people, so we say we're low barrier, zero tolerance. So we're not gonna just take an approach of go sit down, go be quiet. We use that as a stepping stone to build relationship with people. They come in, we check their bags, we tell them we're happy to see them. They can have 1 of 5 items. They come in, we get them church lady food is what I call it, which everybody knows how delicious that is. So they get a church lady meal. And we play games. There's been karaoke. We have movie night, whatever that looks like. And then they're tired. When they're up all night in the cold, they're walking, they're busy, they're tired. So we say lights out by 10. Normally by 9, the folks are like, hey, can we maybe turn the lights off? And then the symphony of snoring happens. So we've had up to 60 people. This year we can hold up to 66. And last year we sheltered 450, I think it was 434, something like that, folks over the course of the winter. So we are doing that again. We work closely with Northland Assistance Center. We know that she puts folks in hotels, and that is very valuable. Because she is able to do that at a temperature threshold. Rita, I assume everybody knows Rita. She's able to do that at a temperature threshold that is still very cold, but not one that we are activated at. And so we have worked with her for a couple years now on, she trusts our vetting process to be able to say who can get into a hotel, and we work closely in providing homeless letters for that, and we just really value our relationship with her. So, cold weather shelter, anything else? We shuttle people from 2 different bus stops because we know our shelters are not very convenient. We will pick folks up from 2 different bus stops from 6 to 7:30, and we will shuttle folks to the shelter, and then in the morning we return them to those bus stops. So we don't want to strand anybody out away from resources. We give a breakfast bag when they leave. We give them resources for day warming centers. And then there was something else I was going to say. Oh, even though we only do shuttle from 6 to 7:30, if somebody walks up at 10:30, we are not telling them no. So as long as we're not at capacity, you can come to our, if you made it there, we are absolutely going to let you in the door. So I think that covers all that we do for now. So do y'all have questions?
Number one, do you have business cards with you? And two, excuse me, do you get a lot of veterans visiting your facilities? And if you do you have specific places where you refer them? Okay.
Yes, we see a lot of veterans, and we're in conjunction when we do our outreach with the VA outreach folks, and so they're our number one call because they have a lot of good resources for veterans. So,
So I'm an SSVF case manager for Catholic Charities, and we serve veterans no matter what. And there's a lot of resources that they are not familiar with. So if you want to link up at all and don't have the capacity, the World Cup is coming here. There's going to be more people underserved and less transportation. So let's get together.
Okay.
Thank you. That was an incredibly informative presentation, by the way.
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, we do a lot of tangible things, but I think what really I have a hard time expressing in this is that when you come on campus and you serve, you see that it's not about the bread or the meat or the milk or the cheese or whatever you might be getting. It's more about how we work really hard to help people retrain their brains on what worth looks like and what their success plateau or reach those goals are. But I mean, when you leave our campus, you also have a lot of stuff. We have fresh meat or fresh vegetables. We do meat. We try to prioritize that just because you aren't buying your groceries, you still deserve healthy foods. And so we do a lot of that. And also, it's not about what we give folks. That's kind of our way of saying, what does life look like when you have healthy food on the table and you don't have to look for that? So thank you. It's hard to put it in a bubble. Yeah.
Yeah, I've learned the best term I heard was, it's not about being good enough. Like, that's so rude.
Yeah.
So I think,
Yeah.
anyway, that was all.
Well, and I think there's a lot, I like to plant these little curiosity seeds. I think there's a lot of places that they can vet who gets help and who doesn't. And if you need help, we have ways of making sure we're being good stewards of our resources without me requiring you to jump through 12 hoops. And so our clients will tell you we got a new portal. Our clients will tell you that our portal is challenging. I would argue that it's easier. But other than that little hurdle, we really try to close the gap on need help, want help. And I do pride ourselves on that a little bit because it can be so hard to get the help you need sometimes.
Can I jump in?
Sure.
So you said your shelter is, I don't talk into it. I'm sorry. Let me put my notes in front of it. So you said your shelter is for 10 degrees and below. So how do we get to having a shelter in the Northland that is 35 degrees or 30? Because I live right over here.
Mm-hmm.
I see the people. I worry about the people. I handed out all my hot hands the other night. So how do we get to that?
That's a really great question. We are located on the other side of Inglewood, on the north side of Inglewood, and south of us is Kansas City. South side of Inglewood is Kansas City. We are located on a campus that is zoned residential, and so everything we do is very hard. And so I haven't even thought about how to open a shelter in the Northland that's deemed at these temperatures because I have to validate everything that we are already doing so much. So I keep running into NIMBY everywhere. I mean, I think the city, I think that Casey Moe was looking to do something at the casino. I'm from St. Louis, so my land familiarity is off, but I think the space around the casino was a question at one point. And even that, even though there's not a lot of residential around it, I think they got pushed back. And I'm saying that like with a giant question mark by it. But the NIMBY argument is everywhere I turn. And so I have no idea what the answer is to that. My hope is twofold. One, we can run a cold weather shelter well enough that people can say, why is that going okay? How is that doing well? And that I can start talking, and I do this a lot. I go to places like this. I just told Jen, I don't know who's in this room. Let's see, and just hope people leave a space with a different lens to be able to not just look at somebody that lives differently than them and say, ugh, they'll get warm somehow, but to say what led them to believe that they don't need to be warm. And while that doesn't solve the 35-degree, 365-day shelter, I do feel like it's a baby step in the right direction to help people both see the world differently and understand that sheltering can be done in a way that does not negatively impact your community. But that feels like a really, really far runway, like a really long runway. So tomorrow, I have no idea what that looks like. I have a conversation with someone, this is where my lay of the land, in the Platte area. I don't know what area of Platte County they're in, but I have a conversation with them soon about a cold weather shelter because they're getting some questions. The conversations happen, and then the community squashes it before it can happen because they're scared. And I love when we get new volunteers at cold weather shelter because they'll just stand in the corner and cry. And that's like my favorite thing. But I think exposure to that and trusting, I mean, we have hiccups sometimes. You will when you have 60 people in a room together. And also, when you approach it with dignity and respect, it can be done really well. And I don't think people understand that approach. So that was a long answer. I'm sorry. And not even an answer.
That was a solid answer,
Sorry.
truly. And never stop talking about it, because the more you talk about it, the more people hear. And advocate for that funding sources being cut. And also, I would argue that shelters make your community healthier.
Yeah, that I tried that one in our city council where we're at, and it's a really long runway. But I will not stop. I get to see it work, and so my argument's pretty strong. And if you don't believe me, then we are going to just keep putting years under our belt and statistics under our belt so that there's space for us to be able to say, no, but look, it can be done right and well. So
They wanted you to go out by Harrah's Casino? That's
I don't know.
Kansas City.
What casino was that?
They didn't want us to go out there.
Not us.
But I
They
mean, for a shelter.
What's the one that's
Samstown.
the rundown, empty?
It was on the table at one point. It didn't stay there very long, but the pushback was there's residential.
There's
Okay.
nothing in it now.
Yeah, it's empty. I think there was a kids resale shop there one time last year. They did, but there was conversation. And it just everywhere they look, the pushback is no, it's too close to residential. We were even doing a pop-up outreach on Front Street at the closed down Denny's for a minute and got asked to leave. And so we have learned that we can't stay put too long, and we have to be very creative in how we allow access to us without just barging into camps, because that's not what people do to my home, And so we are constantly met with that. It's needed. I don't have the statistic from this year, but from January to August of 2024, we had seen 1,000 unique individuals in our day shelter. Now it closed in April, so I don't have the statistics this year, but there's people who would fill it, no doubt.
Oh, yeah. And Samtown, I'll tell you how to get to it someday, but there's no, I ride a bicycle, I do things I shouldn't do. But, huh? What's that?
Doing things you shouldn't do.
But I can tell you where all the homeless people live.
Yes, we know, I'm sure we've, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's just interesting to me that they wanted to send you out to Samstown because to me, I think of homeless people they're more downtown because that's where the services are offered. They feed them here in North Kansas City on a routine basis, and there's just so many more services. So why do you want to shove them clear out to an area?
Yeah, and it fell flat for, I'm sure, a multitude of reasons. But that was one time where I was like, oh, NIMBY, it felt like that was a decent amount of space between housing and where those shelters would be. But again, I dealt with this in St. Louis. It's why I said I wasn't going to work in this field when I moved here.
You never leave once you start.
I know. It's a real problem, but I feel like you have to prove yourself before people trust you at all, and then once you can build a momentum behind that, then sometimes progress can be made. But
So, like, you had a second to yours. I have a second one. What resources? I'm going to tie it to my face. What resources would you like to see come from North Kansas City if we could do something?
so one thing that we utilize in North Kansas City and love is the DMV here. We have a very, very close relationship with them, and their team gets, I think we are on like 120 birth certificates, 70-something IDs that we've gotten this year for folks. One of the easiest ways to help people understand this is you get your stuff stolen. 80% of the folks get their stuff stolen within 2 weeks of becoming homeless. Then to get a job, you have to have an ID. To get an ID, you have to have an address, which you can't have in the woods. And so we start there and have our stuff sent to our building. They take their laptops into the woods and get the identification. So we work very closely with them. We would love some way to make it to where that is easier. So that is one thing I can think of. What else do you think is needed in the north from?
Can you clarify easier? Because I don't know. I'm not.
Yeah. So one thing we have talked about is like in a dream world, once a month having a representative who could say this is a day that there's a DMV situation happening, and we could either come there and everybody who we've worked with to get IDs, because she has all the paperwork ready. Their team will have a folder of all the paperwork that's needed. So either like carving out a specific time, our clients have a really hard time sitting in the DMV. We go with them. In St. Louis, I would write a voucher and send it, and the DMV would bill us for those vouchers. And that was a really great system for some of the people, but many of them wouldn't follow through on it. So I think easier in that, I mean, ideally in a dream world, if we could have like a pop-up that included somebody who could do this work. I don't know their job or their hoops they have to jump through, so I don't know if that's even possible. But we spend about, how many, we go weekly? Every other week, a couple hours at the DMV. So maybe just a conversation with them on how we can enter in differently, because we just communicate a lot with them whenever we're coming. And they're really great. We have a DMV like half a mile from our office, but we come here. So I think easier and just like working out a system that is more consistent, that we could not have to be like, who's working today? Is this gonna work out? Can we get a schedule? That kind of stuff. What other services do you think would be helpful? What Rita does is helpful for the hotel vouchers, because we know on nights when it's not 10 or below that there's families. I mean, I think people think of sheltering unhoused people as like a type of person that you shelter. We've gone from 6 months to 81 years old, just and everything in between. So we know that when it's not 10 degrees or below, it's still really cold outside, and so that is super helpful. She's had some unique situations, I think, that she's called us with, and we've leaned on her for some things. So that is really helpful. We use Care Beyond the Boulevard for medical care for our clients. They're very good about coming to the Northland, so I would say that gap is filled. I mean, none of it is sufficient because everything's short, but they do a great job. Yeah, so between Cold Weather Shelter and all of our programs on campus, we have about 200 to 300 hours a week that we use volunteers for. And Cold Weather Shelter requires about 15 to 20 volunteers a night. None of those are overnight shifts, but you can email coldweather@aturningpointkc.org and get added to the listserv, so you just get notified anytime we're open, and you'll see the Sign Up Genius. I also just appreciate that you guys are having these conversations. As I said, I've been in many of these rooms that are intimidating because I am not liked in them. And it's just nice to know that these conversations are happening behind the scenes and that you recognize and there's a division geographically, but these folks belong here, and they live here and they have the right to move about Kansas City, North Kansas City, Gladstone, whatever. And I get pushback because they aren't Gladstone residents. And so I just appreciate that y'all are recognizing that this is all our people. So thanks for having these conversations. I think that's something that's really helpful, to know that you guys are having these conversations.
And to put yourself in rooms like this is very inspiring, I'll say, too, to be able to just talk about it. So thank you for being here. I have just a great respect for
I probably
that.
say too much sometimes, but
I never stop talking.
I
so,
also never know who's in the room, so I'm just like, well, we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
I have a question. Going back to the idea of how do we get from shelters at 10 below to a higher threshold? Does that make sense? A higher threshold? Temperatures are hard to kind of talk
Right.
about.
Is it higher? Is it lower?
Yeah, I feel like we're like owed warmth at a certain point. I don't agree with 10 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say we have the location, there are no NIMBYs in this magical space.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's create that world. What do we do next?
Yeah.
Like, have you been in that part of development where you've got the place, you've got a shelter at 10 below? What did you do next?
Yeah. So we have the systems. So if anybody has a place and people power, we are more than happy to replicate our systems. Our systems are very different than other cold weather shelter systems. And so there would have to be a conversation on how you want to run your shelter. I don't believe any of them are wrong, but we love the idea of replicating our system and are not stingy at all. So we would love to teach other people. We would love for there to be more or a higher threshold.
I'll add to that. Last year, our degree threshold was 0. So we are at 10 this year. I know. Talks of 15 maybe next year. But the reason we're held to that is because we don't have our own building. And so the church that we're using is a fully functioning church. They have preschool that comes in at 7 a.m. It is fully functional in a great area. And so we have to be out of there by 7 a.m. as if we didn't exist there. And we do, and it's beautiful. But that's why we can't do it every night. If we move you have to look at the averages for winter, and I think at the 10-degree mark, it's an average of like 15 days. If you move up to 25, it's a lot more days. And so that's a burden on the church, and you just can't pull it off when you're using somebody else's building, is why we're at that threshold right now.
Also, last year, they would run night shelter, go home and sleep for like 2 hours and come back and run day shelter, and then go home and sleep for a couple more hours and then go back and do night shelter on the nights that we were activated. So that was one reason we did 0, because they were running day shelter as well. But ideally, I think 32 degrees is freezing, and I think that makes a lot of sense. We just can only do what we're capable of doing, and I want to do it well. And because I know it would also be detrimental to this process if we did it really bad. And so that's another reason why we're like, let's start out at something that's completely manageable and then stretch ourselves as we get some more years under our belt. But our systems, I believe, maybe I'm biased because we made them, but I think our systems work really well. We've had tons of volunteers in and out that are like, oh, this all makes a lot of sense. And the incidences that we've had have been very minimal and mostly mental health related. But people are tired And so they just come in and sleep. And so I think the longer we do this, the more we would be able to push to get a higher threshold. But our hurdle is space. The systems are easy for us. Yeah, so we, like Saturday, if we are going to do, we don't announce until it gets closer, but if we happen to have shelter on Saturday night, that shelter will be taken to that space Saturday. It will be set up when we get there Saturday night, and before 7 a.m. on Sunday morning, we can't have a crumb left in the building. That building's going to be open and thriving, and people are in and out, and so that aspect, like I don't know how many people saw the post I made about the people sleeping, and everybody exploded because people were sleeping on the floor. That's because it's a mobile shelter. And so when we're at our primary location, we'll be able to do cots because we can store them there. But when we're at the secondary location, we have to load everything up after 14 hours on the bus and take it all back to a turning point, unload it, and have it ready to go for the next time. So there are hurdles, for sure. Yes? Yeah?
Hi. I have been curious. First, I'm so glad y'all are here. Thank you for everything that you do, and for supporting the Northland Assistance Center. That's wonderful. This year, we at council talked with Rita quite a bit about adding some extra barriers to some of her resources, and one of those was Social Security card, ID. And I know there was some hesitancy from council around that. Also very valid reasons. It was just kind of a hard decision. So I'm glad to hear a little bit more about what that process looks like. Because in my mind, I was like, that just sounds really hard. So I was curious, like, what success you see, like, as far as people starting that process and actually finishing, and just what that looks like. Like, how many people kind of fall off in the process?
Yeah, so a lot of people, it's like a spring, they like fall off and then they come back. And so we have a handful of folks, we always say that they're like strongly hand-holding, that are on their way out, but there's not like a timeline for that. Spread kind of all over the state at this point. We have someone in a transitional living in Springfield, we have somebody south of the city, we have another guy who's north that are all in recovery, that all started from no ID in the woods, no food, didn't know what they were going to do. And so those are like, we have 3 people right now who are on their way to self-sufficiency. I would say more than that. But then like in cold weather last week when we ran cold weather shelter on, I have no idea what night that was, a couple weeks ago, I had a conversation with a guy that I've known since I started at a Turning Point 3 years ago. And Jen has connected with him on a much deeper level of, here's all my trauma. Trauma is the thing that every person we talk to has, every single client. And trauma that's like in the movies, not like trauma that some people would, it's big T trauma. And so I met with him. I hadn't seen him in a while. I met with him at Cold Weather Shelter, and we had a really good conversation over chili. And I believe he stepped into rehab last week because of, so it's so hard to conceptualize like a number of people because it's this zigzaggy progress that is typically moving up and to the right at some angle. But without an ID and a birth certificate, there's some shelters that won't take them. There's rehabs that definitely, you can't get Medicaid, you can't get food stamps, you can't get insurance, you can't get prescriptions. Like, that is step one. And from that, sometimes there are people that we never see again. We don't know what they do. Sometimes it's because they got their ID, they got what they needed, they went and got a job, they got off the streets, and they don't want to talk to us anymore because that was a bad part of their life. But other folks, we get to see these like slower progresses that happen. One of our case managers was a former client. He was in cold weather shelter 18 months ago, worked as a volunteer cold weather shelter last year, and is now an employee with us. So when we have the ability to not have to require that you step into certain things, we find that when you change for yourself and not because I'm requiring it of you, the progress lasts longer. And so that's a really long way of saying I don't know the answer to that. But what I do know is that we have wins and celebrate wins weekly. Jen sends out a outreach update email that just marks kind of the progress that week. And sometimes the progress is that you met me for coffee because last week you wouldn't even talk to me. And I know that that's a seed that I get to plant to take you along that path. So lots of places have really beautiful outcome numbers. Ours are a little messy. Yeah.
I have a city question. Is there a space to share resources like this HHRC document and all to obtain any sort of missing identification or anything like that? Or do we have a communication thread to utilize for that?
You mean a physical space or?
I meant more like a digital space for us, this advisory committee, if we had additional resources that could help, or if you are running into folks, or if there's any sort of reports of like, hey, this and this and this, we keep hearing reports of X, Y, and Z, and then there's a database you can look towards, like, oh, this place, and this place serves that type of situation or that type of population.
I mean, more informational, like
yes.
Like a web page.
Yes, so that way if there are people who want to provide that, yeah.
I mean, we have the city website. It's restricted access as far as who can post on it, but
Okay,
think we have
part 2 of this question is, if
So
I
part-
were to send files over, what is the method of doing that? Who would I send that to, if that's even a thing?
Megan.
Okay.
It's me.
I might blow up your inbox. I'm sorry. You can do nothing with them, but anyway, there might be useful.
Just out of decorum, I would say if it's going to go on the SEAC page, it should be approved by the whole, by a quorum of the committee.
Absolutely.
Just
yes. Just wanted to
just
get
so-
oh.
Just so Megan has some backing, basically, from the committee. Yes, we want this on there.
Yeah, and we could have a time where we sit down and kind of design a web page, and you tell me what you want on there and everything. So
Awesome. Now I'm excited. Got the wheels rolling.
We could, if we decide we want to move forward having a digital space for resources, there is a street sheet. Yeah. I don't know how often they redo that, but
They do it every season.
Seasonally, yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
That there is.
It's very robust. It's my go-to sheet, yeah.
So there's that. I don't know if this is on it. I looked at it a while ago.
That-
I don't think we've ever actually made the
Well,
sheet.
that feels
So it's
like
it's
a crime.
99.9% robust.
I would say it is 82%.
That's fair.
robust.
That's fair.
I would say you guys do a lot of things.
Yeah.
So that's one place. We can also post things in places and say, here's the thing we talked about.
Yeah, and what we've learned is that folks are like, well, I didn't even know this existed. We're kind of hidden because of our buildings. Like physically, you can't see that there were 130 cars going through our campus last night for pantry or whatever that may be. And so I try to get in spaces like this to be like, this is happening. This is really cool. And I don't want to make it sound like, we do have outcomes. I don't want to make it sound like that. We just graduated our 250th graduate. Like we have things happening on campus. We just don't prioritize our need for success over their need for growth. But if you're not ready, you're not ready, and we're not going to just hang out with you all the time. But we do make sure we are seen consistently so that when you're ready and you feel worthy and you feel like you want to do something different, we're there. And so it's such a hard question to ask. I also don't want to make it seem like we are just a bleeding heart. We do have tough love conversations all the time. And so that's the other piece is I think we just had somebody comment that they wanted people to go to a shelter where they got real help. I was like, ooh, we have that. We do that here. And so it's not just warm and fuzzy, it's with a goal to help folks literally reimagine a life for themselves that they've never pictured before. So,
Well, and most of us probably didn't know your program is so extensive, which is the point, which is kind of what I think about when I'm like, oh, access resources, and like veterans who are facing and experiencing homelessness often don't know that they qualify for medical benefits. So it's like this big dream of like, oh, we can all know and understand all of the things that everyone's doing. It's never going to happen, but
yeah, it's a great goal. And every step forward is at least somebody else who knows, so even if it's not everybody. The other thing I have that I will leave here is instead of like a business card for our clients, we made these, we call them the You Matter cards. And we try to tell people and businesses that they can have these and they can give them out when somebody says, do you have any money? Because people often will be like, I don't want to give out money, but what do I do? And so we always say you can have like a bag of stuff in your car, which is great, water bottle, protein bars, whatever. But these also, they start by saying you matter more to my day than you know, and I'm not able to give you money, but I can point you towards an organization that can hopefully give you change. And it has our case managers' phone numbers on it, and on the back, our community picnic that happens every Sunday. So if they don't have a phone, it has where that's at, what time it happens, and that runs right along the bus line. So it's a way that can get them plugged into services, and then it just kind of tells them that even if they don't get plugged in, that they matter enough, to care. So I can leave you guys some of those. We have a good amount of them, so we try to get them to businesses and local folks who can also kind of see our approach in a little bit of a roundabout way. So I'll leave those with my business cards too.
Yes, please. That is amazing. Yeah. So I'm going to ask from I guess like part 2 of support, right? Like what does support look and help look like for you? How can your message, your services, resources be better amplified? How can we try to get our community involved, whether that is, hey, we're coming together to get like a little kit together with water bottles or hot hands, a protein bar, a little shake. What does that look like? What would you like it to look like?
How long do these meetings last? Because I have a lot. I tell them all the time I have about 15 soapboxes. Which one do you want?
After you, we have committee member comments, council member liaison update, and adjournment.
Okay.
Girl, you got
great.
time.
And often people don't give me a microphone, so this is fun. Okay, so I have this mission, even maybe sometimes more so than serving people, to transform people we don't serve. And I think that when you learn about someone who lives differently than you, that one time that you learn about that, it changes how you see the world. And so when somebody comes to volunteer on our campus or at cold weather shelter or wants to do a drive of some sort, it's my goal that I can also have a conversation with them. And I'm not a very nervous person to say things that maybe push people a little bit. Maybe I need to be. But to me, if I can tell you something like 80% of the people get their ID stolen, how do you get an ID when you need it? And they say, oh, in the mail. And I'm like, I'll just sit there and like processing. Sometimes that's all it takes for somebody to go, well, what about this? Or what about this? And so even if we're just doing a drive of some sort, it's my hope that in some way I can leave you a little more curious. So I have a number of ways that we do that. I'll talk to anybody. We have it's not a poverty simulation, but I have a services simulation that I have created where a lot of people are like, just go get a job, just go get help. There's plenty of resources, and it is not that easy. And so I do this services simulation where you get to choose if you're going to go hang out in a park or if you're going to go get the help you need. And ultimately, at the end of it, typically, everybody's hanging out at the park because services aren't easy to get. And so that's one thing that I've done. I've done that with youth and adults. That's really fun. It's called Bootstraps. We don't even have boots. And then outside of that, I would just I will give anyone a tour or drink a cup of coffee with anybody who wants to learn, even if you hate our services. I would invite that person, absolutely. Let's sit and have some coffee and talk about it. I think if there's a way that I can help broaden your lens, even if it looks differently than mine, once you build a relationship with somebody, I think it changes things, and we have tons of opportunities on our campus to do that. So sometimes it's not the first visit or the second. Sometimes people have been volunteering for a year, and I'll hear them say something, I'll think, oh, let's talk about that, you know? But I think there's a process of learning that can happen in any of those opportunities. The packing of bags, well, why do they need pop cans? People don't think about that. You can't put a canned good in a bag of food for a homeless person that may not have a can opener. Why do they need, we give out little tubs of Vaseline. Vaseline burns very well for a long time. People don't know that. So there's just a lot of teaching that can happen, both as like an internal breakdown and just a knowledge of a world that looks differently than ours. So that's my long answer. I will talk to anybody, I'll teach anyone, and I like to get in front of as many people as possible because I do think that they do leave a little more curious, and I think that's where the transformation happens in the broader communities.
You all do corporate things as well?
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I won't say no. And I'll walk in and I'll have no idea who I'm talking to. Like, I went to this thing in Smithville and I walked in and there were 100 people there and I was like, oh, I thought there were going to be like 7. But we did it. And I made connections there where I'm talking to somebody in a college soon because it was people in the room and you never know. And so if you don't want to hear it, you just can ignore it and move along. But I do think once I have a slideshow, like once you hear some of that stuff, you at least will look a little differently at the world. And when you talk about trauma to people, everybody understands trauma. And I can promise you every person who has crossed our doorstep has had a significant trauma in their life. And that sometimes is the tie that binds both volunteers to our clients and clients to us. So I think that conversation hits at home for a lot of people.
Yeah. I will say the part of the reason why I asked is as we are getting our foundation together, we are like some of our goals, I'll say some, because this is multifaceted, is to engage the community more, but also provide opportunities for our communities to come together to actually be involved, take action. And so as easy as, let's say, us providing the protein bars or the water or what have you, and like, or hey, we're rolling silverware, let's go, right? Yeah. As easy as that is to help get people in the door to just get engaged, and then having the opportunity to learn more about what is happening, those are the types of things that I know I would like to see done, right? But something that is helpful from a multitude of standpoints. Yeah. So that's why I asked the other question I'm going to ask, and this is, let's say a perfect world, you're like fully staffed, you have volunteers just rocking and rolling, ready to go, trained up, just where you need it. What are, or I should say, are there any future programs or initiatives that you would like to see happen and resources provided?
We have 2 different answers to this, by the way.
No, that's perfect.
I dream of a 100% free store that looks like Trader Joe's, where you walk in and I don't necessarily have to ask a million questions when you get there, and you check out just like everybody else, but you don't give me any money. That doesn't require appointments and doesn't require a portal that people hate. And so that's one of my little, like, I picture it in my head and I just get lost in this like idea of a free store that nobody has to. I just went to this lunch. I fed Thanksgiving dinner in Arkansas, and the goal of the dinner was that you didn't know who there needed the free meal and who there wanted to eat with people who needed a free meal. And that's the kind of grocery store I want, is where you don't know who's in there because they need the free food or who's in there because they just want to be around and help and whatever that looks like. So that's one of my dreams. I do have, like, in the back of my head a little bit, I think I could do, we get a lot of really fun stuff in our wardrobe that I think we could do some kind of thrift situation, but with a modern spin on it, as a way to do job readiness and kind of help elevate some of our clients. And then Jen will tell you that she dreams of a tiny home village that.
The veterans one, but for chronically homeless, yeah.
Yeah. So we toured one in San Antonio. I don't remember the name of it. And it was done beautifully. They had wraparound services, which is a big ball drop. And a lot of the worlds we run in is that we get people housed and then we don't support them, and people don't know how to be housed sometimes, and that's not their fault. And it was so intentional. The doors all faced in to build community, and like they learned that not everybody wanted a home that was on a foundation, so they had a row of RVs because that was what was comfortable for people, because they couldn't, that was a trigger for them to be in a house that was that stable, and it was beautifully done. So I think Jen has had that twinkle in her eye since we've seen that that tiny home village. What are your big dreams? Do you have? Yeah, that's the one she always. She may go rogue on me sometime if someone's like, "Hey, you want to start a tiny home village?" All right, you too. I'm not going to let you talk. Yeah, so we don't. I would love to see some of our programs grow. I'd love to have a permanent case manager in our food pantry. That's an area where we can prevent you from that downslide. Then it may be a medical bill, it may be a broken car, it may be a couple missed paychecks, that if we can prevent that from happening. Why are you needing my food pantry for 3 years? That's not a judgment question. It's can I help you not have to come here to shop? Like, you can go, like, order your groceries at Hy-Vee, that's easy. Let's help you get to a place where your life is easier and you don't have to come when I tell you the shopping happens. And so case management services in that space. Our high school diploma program is really great. We need to evolve our curriculum. We had that in Platte County Detention Center. That's paused currently. Twofold. One part, the system, we needed to figure out the system a little bit, and the other part, we need more volunteers for that. So some of my dreams are really silly, like having another copy machine on campus. But my other dreams are big, like a free grocery store that everybody just knows is free and we don't have to talk about it that much. So that's a great question. And often we don't pause enough to think about where we're headed. We know that we are working on firming up the programs that we have. And making them as sufficient as can be and sustainable. But outside of that, we don't think, we're like on a 3 to 4 year plan. We don't ever think about 7 to 10 in the nonprofit world, so yeah. Currently, the biggest dream is a vehicle for our outreach team. They don't have a designated vehicle. We borrow a church shuttle for overnights and outreach, and then they have a Ford Flex that somebody donated several years ago that is very high on the mileage that the whole campus uses. But I also dream of like a branded vehicle where people can see this vehicle coming and know that that's a place that's going to help me. I know exactly what they have when we pull up. So that was our Giving Tuesday ask. We didn't make it, but we did. We did. We put it out there. And we've learned in our world that when you put things out there in the universe, they often come to fruition. So, yeah.
What's your tiny dream?
Oh,
Like the actual, like, someone could show up with it tomorrow or, like, find a version of it on Craigslist. Tiny dream. Or 4 of them. I don't know.
Yeah. So any kind of vehicle that they could have as a second vehicle to run around on. And now, dream-wise, a Sprinter van would be perfect, but any vehicle, they could throw a couple people in and get to where they need to go. Jen's truck, her personal truck, has become the ATP vehicle, and God love it. It's done so well. It's done so well. So this is a difficult question to ask because our systems at a turning point need up. We have went through a growth spurt, and our systems. It is an expensive and not attractive thing to ask for help to update your website or get a donor database that works well, or our portal. We chose our portal because it's affordable. We thought it was like a big national portal, and it's ran by a husband and wife in Arizona. It's really cute. But you know, we want to make things easy for people, but the nice portals for food pantries are very, very expensive. So our systems did not grow with us, and it is not like the ask that everybody wants to hear, but it's the thing that is brushed aside a lot. Like when we have like a household Canon printer in our office that is out of ink every 2 days. And so it's things like that then I take 45 minutes to walk across campus, talk to 27 people to go make a copy, and that's not great. That sounds crazy, but those little tiny things like that they're taking away from my time of growing and dreaming and all of that. And so the little asks are that I make it through the last Christmas store tomorrow, or Saturday. And that there's someone that comes along who supports our mission enough to understand that we need to catch up on the foundation pieces of it. So I don't know if that our computers are old. You know, it's just those kinds of things that we spend a lot of time dealing with because nobody wants to. That's not a fun ask. So
They're not the sexy things.
that's right. I didn't know if I could say that here. I said attractive, but I really was going to say nothing. Like nobody wants to pay for that because it's not sexy. It's not
No,
what
nothing sexier than a Ford Flex that's been wrapped with your name on it.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
I don't know, those administrative asks.
A copy.
They get me every time.
Unlimited paper supply.
Right there. Yeah. Ink is a hot item in our building. So yeah, somebody just said to me, "Do you need office supplies?" And I said, "Yes." And they showed up with a laser printer. Have you seen it? I put it in your office.
I saw one sitting there.
Somebody showed up today with a laser printer, and I was like, "I'm just going to sit this in the case manager's office, and they're going to think Santa brought it, and it's going to be so great." And that's Santa. Yeah, so it's those little things that we know take forever. I asked if she printed something the other day. She's like, "Well, no, I don't have any ink." So it's just the little things that makes things so much harder. But we went from a staff of 4 to 9. We went from serving 30 to 40,000 people to last year it was almost 80,000, and this year because the guest house was cut, we did go down to 64,000. Those numbers are pretty set. That like we know we're going to fill a pantry every week. We know we're going to fill a wardrobe. So we need to be able to catch up to that. When I started, we didn't have a phone system. So that kind of stuff.
You do have 2 city council members in the room, if you'd like to speak with them as well.
Well, I
Or tell them anything.
Yeah, no, I think one thing I would say is thanks for being here. It matters. And I haven't cried yet, but I'm not a cute crier either. You guys have so much impact that you don't realize. And when I have people so mad that they have to see unhoused people walking, knowing that there's somebody at the city who's taking those calls, what they say matters. And I think the fact that you guys have to balance community satisfaction with serving all community members. I don't want your job at all. And also the fact that you're in rooms having hard conversations changes the community. And I've sat in a lot of tough places where there was nobody having hard conversations. So thanks for being in here. Because it's really easy to pretend like these people don't exist. That's the easy thing to do. And it keeps people who have a loud voice in a room very happy. And so I probably will go to bed tonight and be like, man, there was so much more I should have said. And also just thanks for being here. That's all.
Thank you for being here. And I can say I'm pretty new to council. It's only been a few months, but it's really helpful to know that there are resources and to learn about the resources that are out there. So I appreciate you coming. I've learned a lot too. I'm glad Tom is here too, that we can kind of like pass along to the rest of council. And I'm really grateful to live in a place like North Kansas City. I know it is unique in the metro in not only the city staff and city council, but like the community. Mm-hmm. I think the majority of the community really does care and really does want to help. So I'm really excited about the partnership and hope that we can take some meaningful steps as a committee and as a team. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I hate getting emotional sometimes because I have to be able to draw lines between like work and life and all of the things, but I truly think that there is a way to do this really well. And that has to be a dance. And Gladstone is a beautiful community. I am not here to say anything ill on them. But I think being able to have a conversation that says, this isn't working, how can we pivot? Or how can we come together? We recognize that your organization is serving in this way. How can we help you with that? It has to be a dance because you can close the resources and the problem isn't going away. Homelessness exists. It's existed for decades. It's been around forever. And our systems haven't changed much, even though the number of homeless people is growing. And so I think that people in the city, on councils and otherwise, have to be willing to say, we need you. We need both of this. We need a standard and we need outcomes, but we also need to understand that the work we do is not always going to work, and we have to be willing to do that dance. And so I think just having a lot of grace for the organizations that are doing the work and understanding that if they're willing to pivot when it's needed, then just figure out how those two things can coexist, I think would be an ask I would like of all city councils, just that you understand that our work is needed, that we are an asset to a community. We are, by no way are we trying to be a nuance. And I feel like some city councilors are like, no, we don't need you. We don't have people who need your services. We serve 17 zip codes. So right now, last I checked, we don't have a requirement, but that's where everybody came from. So I think just being open to always having a conversation before that's this idea of like, no, you're not needed here, is helpful, is really helpful. So I hate that I get emotional, and also I've just sat in so many places where there was not grace or understanding or a desire to learn more. So
Thank you so much for coming tonight and referring to your clients as clients. I think I've been in spaces where our houseless population or homeless population has been referred to as much less. And I think giving them the grace of being human is the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for presenting to us.
Yeah.
And answering all of our questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. Yes. I'll leave these on the table.
Right. And if you can stay, I think.
And if anybody wants more conversation or a tour or whatever that looks like, please feel free to reach out, because it's the thing that gets me out from behind my computer and allows me to share more. So thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
All right. We can move on and finish this up real quick. How's that sound?
Sounds pretty good.
Let's do it. All right. We'll start Marcia, committee member comments and announcements.
Well, this is, she's shaking her head no. So first, I'm going to say that thank you so much for being here. This was amazing. I love to see people's heart and intentions, and this was amazing. I appreciate you all, and hopefully this will not be, hopefully this will be one of many interactions, right? Okay, yes, you're very welcome, thank you. The other thing I will say, the North Kansas City High School Cultural Night, absolutely wonderful, had a blast. We got rid of all the candy and the swag bags, which was great. But, amazing food, so much culture represented. Everyone was so nice, helpful, the talent was amazing, and everyone was so supportive of each other. We'll also say to that, what a gift it is to have an event like that, within the students being able to look back on their time and exposures to different cultures and perspectives. In my opinion, it truly makes you a better human to be able to display empathy and connect with others that are different from ourselves, and to be open-minded. So I encourage those who will have an opportunity to attend next year to do so, if at all possible. The last thing I will say, this is my last meeting. I know, it's so sad. But I'm not going completely away. I will be around and definitely in support. But just wanted to say thank you to everyone that I have served with in the past and the present. It has truly been an honor, and I am excited for what is to come. Please remember, this is for anyone listening, in the room, what have you. Treat yourselves and others with kindness, assume a positive intent, keep an open mind, ask questions to seek understanding, speak your truth while recognizing that many other things can be true at the same time, and value each other's differences and perspectives. We are here to build up, foster, and engage our amazing community and each other. And I have the utmost confidence that this committee and its members will do just that, and do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And it has been a pleasure to serve with you all. Thank you.
Well, no comment. Thank you.
I'm going to be fast. I'm going to talk into the mic. I just can't even talk to you right now. I'm going to miss you, and I know you're going to show up, but you are an amazing piece of the puzzle. So if anybody's listening, we need some more pieces of the puzzle so that we can do some amazing things for North Kansas City. Thank you guys for coming tonight. You will be hearing from me. I will be taking some of your, yes, I will take some of those. And I'm hoping that we can figure out in the future how we can work together to take care of everyone in our communities. And the multicultural night was amazing. I mean, if you've never gone, it was amazing. And then to think that it was put on by high school students. So if anybody's out there listening, next year you should go. You will have a blast. We weren't going to stay till the very, very end, and we ended up staying to the very, very end. It was amazing to see all the kids and all the what they brought to us and talked about, their culture. It was amazing. It was cool. And that's it.
I will speak the truth that I don't want you to go. It has been an absolute pleasure working with you. I don't know how many years it's been. Been like in and out. Got some feelings. This truly has been wonderful. And I appreciate your friendship, your direction, your leadership, your mentorship, and your humor above and beyond. And the work you've done. I really thank you for that. kids at the high school were hilarious. They were afraid to get those little snackies. And they were so gentle and kind. They're beautiful in their, like, showing off their heritage and their culture from different countries, African countries, Asian countries. It's just phenomenal to see the pride students have and where they are from, whether it's their first generation or multiple generations back. You see their parents' pride as they bring in like dishes from their community, and it just smells so good. I am sorry to say that I did not get to stay for the whole thing, but our Dynamite Mayor and his Christmas tree lights was quite fun. So that was really cute. The tree's right over across the street if you want to go see it. But I am looking forward to the new year. We'll have our first official full year of the SEAC, and please, all who are out there, I feel like we're like talking into the universe. If you're interested in working on the SEAC, talking to a member of the SEAC, or maybe applying for the SEAC, we got spots. We got a couple spots, and we'd love to have you. We're nice people, and we can mostly focus. All right, Councilmember Click.
Well, Marcia, we'll miss you. Hopefully you'll still come around every once in a while. I also want to shout out Ryan. He couldn't make it tonight. This is also his last meeting. I know he's been here for at least 2 years, finished out his term, which is greatly appreciated. So thank you to Ryan. I doubt you're watching this, but I'll tell you in person. Yeah, working on some recruiting as well. So Ward 1, I'm on it because now there's 2 openings. So we'll figure that out. But also thank you all again. I appreciate it. We all appreciate you coming. I've learned that it's really kind of like you said, tricky to balance like the realities of what a city and a public entity can do. But I think most importantly, we're talking about it, and that's I hope making a big difference. So I'm glad that we can do that. If sometimes that's one of the few things we can do, and just help guide people to the resources that are available, get to know the resources that are available. And happy holidays, I guess. See y'all.
Speaking of which,
next year.
yes, there are a lot of holidays celebrated across different cultures and heritages in the month of December, and I'll just tell you about them in January for the month for those celebrated in January. But it is 7/18, still on December 11th, and our meeting is adjourned. Gavel, please.
Acquiring and preparing the site, which is actually one of the reasons why this is a very unique tax increment financing plan, because